Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and with the full release of all the cards in the 5th set of the Fusion World card game, I want to make this video just going over my initial thoughts for deck building for each of the new leaders we get out of that set. So these are not perfect deck lists, these are not optimized, but I did want to just kind of go over my initial thoughts on deck building them in general, and these leaders in general as well. So if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. We make a lot of Fusion World content, and we're going to continue as we get closer to and into the FB05 meta for the game. And then also, if you guys haven't checked out my website, Eggman Events, that's going to be where all of the deck lists that we are talking about today are going to be living. So if you guys want to check those out later, you can check them out there. This also is a living website that I'm going to be continuing to update as well as we get into the FB05 meta. It's a little bit empty right now since, you know, we don't have any events or anything. But as we get there, as we get into the meta, I'll be continuing to update this. We've got a lot of data for the FB04 format too, which we've been supporting and getting a lot of deck lists for too. So you can check that out for the end of this section. And you can find more of FB05 as we get closer to it as well. So we're going to start off with our deck list as well. And real quick before we do, I do just kind of want to mention real quick, here's my initial like tier list for leaders. And tier list is maybe too heavy of a term for it, but if I was to say which is the worst leader and the best leader based on my preconceptions going on into this, I think Vegito blue is probably the best one. Green Goku is probably the second best. Janemba is the third best. The red Goku Daima is the fourth best. And then we've got the Gogeta as the fifth best. I'm not saying that also these leaders are like not viable. So I don't think that, you know, Vegito is like super duper viable and Gogeta is like unplayable. But just if I was to say which are the leaders that I like the most for deck building and how powerful I think they are, this is the order that I currently think for it going into this video. So if you guys want to just, that's kind of my idea for it. That's what my thoughts are for it. And you guys can kind of keep that in mind. I'll probably just leave this on the rest of the screen for the rest of the video, just so you guys know, but we'll keep that there. So anyways, going into the start though, we got the Son Goku Mini. So probably the most like generic leader like that we have. The rest of these leaders kind of have these interesting quirks, which we'll talk about. But for the Mini, it's just 4 or less. You get to draw 1, flip this over. And then on the back side, you get to activate main, choose 1 battle card with Daima in its card name in your battle area, and it gets plus 1000 power for the turn. So it's fine, right? We've seen like kind of minor variations of this Goku in the past. So the fact that we're able to give something plus 10k for the turn is strong, especially since the best card to use this with is the Glorio. So this is the super rare from FB05. On play, if your leader is awakened, your opponent's leader gets minus 5k power for the turn. And then when attacking once per turn, if your leader has Daima in its card name, switch this card to active mode. So you are able to use your Daima leader effect to make this a 35k, and then you're able to make their leader, let's say they're awakened at 20k, you can make them a 15k. So you get 35 on a 15 twice. That's 20k deficit, which means your opponent has to use a super combo and another card to get out of this attack without any additional boosts too. So it's pretty strong, right? It does apply a lot of pressure, and because of that, I think it's really what we have to aim for most of this deck is to just kind of go for that one. The Daima cards, there's not a lot for red in particular either. We do have a couple cards to get there as well. So like I think like the Son Goku Mini is a really strong card in its own way. The fact that this becomes a 30k when awakened, which means it becomes a 40k with our leader effect if we decide to use it on that, is really strong. So this has been very good, I think, in red in particular, and is great for this leader as well. We also have, I don't know how I feel about this card. This could be easily the worst card in the deck, but it's the Tamagami number 3. So permanent, this card can't be KO'd once per turn, which this kind of means that it's your opponent kind of has to just kind of sink attacks into it if they want to remove it. There is a lot of ways to just get around this effect, though. You can bounce something to hand, you can give it minus 15k. The list kind of goes on, but it's just like a generically okay card to say, you know what, this is a card I can play on 2. I don't attack with it, and then if my opponent doesn't interact with it, I'm able to attack as it like a 20k, 25k later, or even just like use the blocker effect if it comes up. So generally blockers are pretty weak in this game, but I think that he might have a chance. The rest of this, we just kind of have these 1-drops. We got Son Goten Mini Daima, which we can make it a 15k if we want to. Same with Neva, being able to look top 5 for a Daima card that costs 4 or less, not including itself. We have the Shin Mini Daima as well, plays this card in its owner's drop to give something minus 10k power. So this is from FB04, but it does work for the effect as well. So these are fine. And then we also have the Pansy here. This is kind of like a worse Marcerita, but it is searchable in the archetype. Choose up to one of your leaders or up to one of your battle cards, both with Daima in their card names. In on play, this gets a plus 5k power. So the fact that this is a 10k, you can give it to your Glorio. So now it's a 35k, or sorry, a 40k double. attack with if you set it up correctly is pretty strong. Marsurid is probably a little bit better, but the fact that this is searchable is why we're playing it. So if you like Marsurid, you can do that instead. And then the rest is just kind of regular red cards. Right? We've got Vegito Mini, which lets us self-awaken as a 25k crit, which is fine, which you can turn into a 35k crit. Son Goku Mini Daima, you can make this a 35k. The when attacking, choose one something with 20k power less than KO is a little bit worse than like the Goku from Star Deck 1, but it's fine. We got the Bulma Mini, and then we also have Warp Sama. I like these cards. Activate main, look top 5 for a Daima card with anything, so you can get any of your Daima cards, including your Glorio, which I think you have to play this card on turn 4 to be able to have success. So we have that there. We can also find your super combos. And then I don't even know if this is like is even needed in the deck. It just felt bad to not play it. But it's Son Goku. This buying you another turn can get you some more pressure if you need to. So it's not the worst card. If you don't want to play this card, you don't have to. I just felt like red felt a little bit empty without playing it either. So I don't know. I think this deck is, again, just fine. We've seen some aggressive red decks before, but I think some other tools are better for other red decks to be more aggressive. Like there's some cool Universe 7 stuff for red that is going to increase the aggressiveness of that deck. So because of that, I do think that there's not a lot going on with this one in particular. Mostly because like this is like the high-end card that we got from the deck, which is really cool. Like it really depends on if this strategy is really obnoxious and really strong, or if it's just something that's really predictable and just doesn't do a lot, right? Like there's like Majin Buu where you can for 5 play a 35k double and then a 30k dual attack that then also refreshes your leader, right? That, even though it's like a 2-card combo, that feels a little bit stronger than what Glorio can currently do with Son Goku Mini, but I could be wrong on that one. So it'd be interesting to see what this deck looks like. I fear like the best red deck's still going to be Beerus, but we'll see. We'll see if that happens. You also have the Son Goku Mini Daima, which was a star deck previously, which could use a lot of these resources, including the Glorio Daima, which you can make this a 30k that attacks twice since you give a plus 5k until the end of the turn as well. So that could also work with this, but if you want just the pure aggression, obviously this is the better leader since it gives a plus 10k instead of the plus 5. So we'll see. I think there could be chances for this deck, but it's just kind of in a weird spot. So there it is there. Next up, we've got blue and we've got Vegito, which I'm expected to be one of the stronger decks in this, mostly because, and it really just depends on how easy is it to put the X amount of cards into your drop, right? That's kind of what this entire deck revolves around and what we tried to do, but really just with all the recycling of resources and other things we get to do, I think that Vegito's in a kind of good spot. So I think this list in particular is pretty unoptimized, but kind of shows just an idea of how to build the deck inherently. And what you do is that you find, how many of these cards do you actually need for self-mill to make it worth it. And once we kind of find out how consistent we get there, we kind of take some cards out from that package. So we are playing 58 in this game. Decks are 50 to 60 in case you didn't know. So I think you could definitely build this deck with 60 cards if you want to. I would probably try to get as close to like 55 to 56 cards. So we're at 58 right now, but we still need some kind of consistency in it as well. Anyways, if you don't know, when attacking, draw 1. You can flip this over when you're at 4 or less. You put 10 cards from the top of your deck into their drop area, then flip this card over. So this just enables like half the effects on your field. You don't get to draw, but on the backside, you are a 40k as long as you have 20 or more cards when attacking, which is just bonkers, right? 40k. So any like most awakened leaders in the game will have to give a super combo and something else because of this, and we still get our card draw, which is crazy for a leader that also just awakens at 4. So I feel like this leader by itself, like even if you don't use like the big like self-mill stuff, 40k aggressively is a lot of power, I think, in this game, and is worth giving up the extra draw from awakening that you lose. So other than that, I do have a bunch of 1-drops to help us get there. Again, these will probably be cut as we find out how many we actually need in the deck, but we got Hercule, which is an Earthling that also lets us draw a card, and if we have 10 or more in our drop, and then also place 2 cards from your deck into your drop. We've got Old Kai, so same kind of thing. Old Kai, place the top 2 cards, then if you have 10 or more, choose up to one of your leaders up to bow cards, and with both staying in their traits, and gets plus 5k for the turn. So you could use that with something like Vegito or Vegito to be able to make it a 35 or 45k duel for the turn. So that kind of adds up, which is kind of nice. We also have peel off because we put so many cards into our drop, and this can just recover them all. So why would you not? I'm not playing the 2-drop Pan, but you can definitely play that card in this deck if you want to. And then Kibito, this is from FB04, but on play, place the top 3 cards of your deck into their owner's drop. This one might just be like better than Hercule, even though this is an Earthling. This might be better than Old Kai though, for what it is, because it is a 10k. If you play this on turn 1, it literally does nothing, right? So it's better just get the extra card into your trash. So it's what it is from there. There's also kind of like a little combo for this deck, which we'll talk about in a little bit with the Vegito and Son Goku, but we also have like our 2 drops, which this card's dumb, right? Can we agree on this? Can we agree? Like this is a weirdly statted card in my mind. So it's a 2-drop 20k on play. Add 1 card from your life to your hand, then place the top 3 cards from your deck into their owner's drop. So and then it's a 10k that self awakens that also puts 3 cards. Like it does everything, and it's an uncommon, right? Like this seems infinitely playable for the deck. Like it seems really, really strong, and I don't know why you wouldn't play this and why this is just an uncommon for it. But it seems like a 4 of, again, because it's a 10k, which is outrageous. We have Vegito, which is probably a little bit more well statted, right? When attacking, add 1 card from your life to your hand, then place the top 3 cards of your deck into their owner's drop. So that seems a little bit more, I don't know, this should have been a 5k. I don't know why it's a 10k. So anyways, from there, our kind of big combo is that we've got this 3-drop Goku. So on play, add 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose 1. It also is a 3-drop 25k with 0 combo. Place the top 5 cards of your deck into your owner's drop. So being able to do this means you put so many cards in there immediately. You like halfway get there, because once you awaken, you're able to put an additional 10. Or if you have 20 or more cards in your drop during this turn, next time you use an extra card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand, you don't have to pay the cost. So which we'll talk about in a little bit. We've also got this 2-drop Vegeta. Add up to 1 blue card with a cost of specifically 3 from your drop to your hand. So this is kind of nice because you do so much self-milling that this can find a card from half your deck towards the end of the game. And then also activate battle switch this card to rest mode. If you have 20 or more cards in your drop, your Son Goku with a cost of 3 that's in battle gets a plus 30k power. So what you can do is that you can use this, you can play Vegeta for 2, use its effect to get a Goku for 3, use this Goku for 3 to get an extra card that costs 3 or less for free, and it's the CU card. So activate main if you have 20 or more cards in your drop, choose up to 1 Son Goku with a cost of specifically 3 from your battle area, gains double strike, then choose up to 1 battle card if you have 20 or more, and place it at the bottom of owner's deck. So it gets removal, and the fact that you get to be a big double strike, which then with Vegito's effect, you get to make it a 55 double for technically only 5 cost and 2 cards in hand. So that's a pretty good value, which is why we're also playing this Son Goku is from FB01. It fits the mold, right? It's a 3-drop vanilla. Sometimes you need Vegeta to just be able to get a 10k, so it fits that kind of thing, since the other Goku is a 0k. I could actually see this bumping this up to like 3 or 4 copies, depending on how often I need Vegeta to be able to draw me another 10k, but it's what it is, right? And it's only, it has to be cost of 3, so it doesn't boost up anything else. But it's an interesting combo, and I think that helps out the deck. And then you guys probably know about this Vegito, right? Being able to return a 4-drop back to your opponent's hand on play is great. And then also when attacking, you have 20 or more, no 3-drops can attack, which is really helpful. We also have this 4-drop Vegito from FB04 as well. Activate main for 2, discard 1 card from your hand and place this card in its owner's drop. If you have 10 or more cards in your drop area, you get to play Vegito with a cost of 5 or 6 from there. So that lets you play this 5-drop or this 6-drop, which is really strong, and really helps you get to, you just can consistently see these cards by playing this card, which is a 10k, and it helps you out. It means that you also don't have to like put as many of these like 5k or like 0k combos in your deck when you know that you can, like late game, like you're going to go through half your deck, you're going to hit likely one of each one of these, so this Vegito can convert into that whenever you want. So I think that's strong and helps out the deck a lot. We got some super combos, and then some 3-drop extra cards. So we've got Sickle, which is always good. So you can still like do the thing where you can Son Goku as long as you have 20 or more in there. You can then play a Sickle for free. You can play Galactic Donut for free. to draw 2 cards and choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it can't attack for the turn, or obviously use the card you're supposed to use it with, which is CU. But again, this Vegeta can get anything that costs 3, so it can get these extra cards. So if you need to get like a sickle or a galactic donut that you milled out earlier, you are able to do that, which is kind of nice. So this is kind of the idea for it. There's also like the other 3-drop extra card whose name's escaping me right now, but you can Absolute Justice, right? I can't remember. You guys can let me know. But the one that just bomb decks literally anything. So if you want to be like really slow and controlling with this deck, I think you can do that as well. Since you do have like some really good late game. Like once you're awakened, you're attacking 40k every turn and still drawing, which I think is ridiculous. So I think this deck has a really good shot to being really strong. You have to find probably the good ratio of self-mill cards and just cards that actually do things to make the balance right. But I've been really enjoying this one, and I think this is going to be pretty strong for what it is. All right, next up we've got Green Goku, and I rank this as the second most strongest deck, leader rather, from this new set, and it's pretty kind of self-explanatory, I think, for deck building, what it does and how it works. So when attacking, draw 1, and then also if your life's at 3 or less, you get to draw 1 and flip it over. And then on the other side, it's a 30k aggressively, and then end of your turn, you can discard 1 if you have 2 or less life, and 7 or less energy, you get to heal 1. So the fact that you get to heal is really great, and the entire kind of theme for this deck is that you take a lot of cards from your life very early, and then once you're at 2 or less life, you get all these additional abilities that kind of activate. So it reminds me a lot of some of the green aggressive builds from Masters, including like the Goku that was eventually banned because it was a little bit too aggressive for the game. But I do think this has a lot going for it, a lot going for it. So you definitely just kind of want to play the entirety of like the Planet Namek stuff. So most of these cards are that, like we got 30 cards for it since we do have this Bulma. Only looks at top 3, so even with that, this will miss occasionally, but it can find itself, which is interesting. So it's kind of like the Aandroidd 18 from the previous set. And then we have so much self-awakening that green kind of just never had. So the first one is Murray, being able to just a blocker 10k that lets you take a card from your life. You have to add a card from your life to your hand, so it's not optional if you play it. We also have Chaozu, just another 1-drop. But if your life is at 2 or less, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, cost 5 or less, and it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. So that's not too bad. My idea is that you just be really greedy, and then you just kind of pressure your opponent with some of your larger bodies, which specifically is the Son Goku. It's a 7-cost 45k double strike, and permanent if your life's at 2 or less, you don't have a Son Goku with a cost of 7 or less in your battle, or sorry, a cost of 7 in your battle area. Reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 4. So you can play this for 3. It's a 45k double strike, but then it's on the board as a 7-drop, which means that your opponent can't, like, you know, even though you played it for 3, they can't like Sinister Sickle it, they can't really interact with it, and then you can just attack with it again next turn as a 45k double. So I think that's really strong for what this deck is trying to do, and you want to see this card pretty consistently, which is why we're playing 4, and it's kind of like the idea for it. So you take your life very aggressively, you play this 45k double strike, and then it just sits on the board for the next 2 turns, and it's really hard for your opponent to kind of contest it. And if they do, you can just play another one on the next turn kind of thing. So the kind of cards we use to get some self-awakening, though, we've got Krillin. Just add a card from life to your hand, and on KO you get to ramp a card, even though, again, on KO effects are pretty stinky in this game. We got Tien, which lets you place 1 card from your life to your own's drop, and then you get to KO a 2 or less. You don't get to keep the life, but getting rid of a card on the board is usually good enough. We got Vegeta, add 1 card from your life to your hand, then if your life's at 2 or less, you get to draw 1. So like it adds the card, but like early game this isn't doing as much. So I think Krillin's the one you want to play early, and then you can play Tien Shinhan or Vegito later in the game. We got Son Gohan Youth, choose 1. If your life's at 2 or less, you can just KO anything, which is pretty nuts. And then also the other one is add 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose up to 1 battle card with a cost 3 or less and just KO it. So if you play it on curve, when you want to take the cards from your life, you get to just KO anything that's been played so far, or like late game, you just get to KO anything, which is, I think, a little bit wild for that. We got the Son Goku. This is a promo, but we get it out of the release event, so you'll get it pretty quickly, even on the online client. When attacking once per turn, if your life is at 3 or more, you get to add 1 card from your life to your hand. This is not an option in case you're reading this, so if you play this, you have to take the life when you're attacking if you're at 3 or more, and then activate main once per turn if your leader is Son Goku. You get to switch this card to active mode. So this is a 25k double, which lets you add a card from life to hand. this card's just nuts. Like, this is just so much pressure. The fact that it's a 25k means a lot of decks just can't answer this card on curve. And then being able to just, like, again, help self-awaken on the next turn means that you can get down to 2 life so quickly. And then you can play this 7-drop Goku, which, again, this is a 3-drop and this is a 7-drop, so this doesn't have any reverse synergy with it either. So we got Chi-Chi, which is an Earthling. Too bad. I understand, like, why there isn't a Planet Namek super combo, but it would have been nice for the deck. And then the cards that we're running additionally, we got Dr. Brief Spaceship. This is just a draw 2, which I think we're going to get pretty easily, so we're playing 4 copies of this. Destructo Disc, which is either the worst or the best card in the deck, but activate battle, your turn, your card that are in battle get plus 20k power for the battle. Then if your life set 2 or less, it gains critical. So this is the first instance of double strike crit, I think, in this game, which is partially why that one Gohan leader was banned, because of an interaction like this. So like, early game getting hit by a 65k double strike crit, you're just taking 2 life, right? Like, there's no interaction with that. Like, it is so tough for you to do that. So, and then lastly, we've got training at 100 Gs, draw 1 card and add 1 card from your life to your hand. Then if your life is at 2 or less, play 1 Son Goku with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So, I think this might be a bad card too, but I do like the idea that if we need to go from 3 life to 2, this can help you get there with the Son Goku. You get to draw the card, you get to take the life, and then it checks on which card you're going to play. So if you're at 3 life, you activate the effect. And then you go down to 2, you can use the effect, and then this will be a 3 cost, so it fits the mold for it, so that helps a lot. So also, since we are, like, discarding a card at the end of our turn, likely every turn, it means that we can play some of these kind of, like, more brickier cards, because we know that we have ways to get rid of them and convert them into an extra life later in the game. So this is an interesting leader. I think it's going to be, I'm a little bit afraid about how aggressive this can be. I know that, like, Vegito looked a little bit aggressive on the green side from FB04, but this one looks like particularly aggressive, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It looks really, honestly, it's just this card. This card just looks like a menace in a game where like, our double strikes have to be, like, a little bit more expensive. The fact that we can essentially put one on the board for 3 energy is kind of terrifying to me. So we'll see if that affects the game and how it is, but it just means, like, if you're playing against green, you can never go down to 2 life, because they're just going to play this Goku and try to hit you for a lot. So anyways, this is the last thing we play Soul Junior, so we can play it and we get Dr. Brief Spaceship or Destructo Disc again. I think that's worth it for a 10k, just to be able to recycle it and just get the cards that we need to get. So likely fine. So anyways, this is the build here for Goku. And the next up, we got Janemba, and I put this straight in the middle. And I put this in the middle because this is probably going to be one of my favorite leaders from this set. It just does a lot of things, and I think it's really interesting. For this build, I went for more of, like, a Frieza army and Frieza in particular build, because of just kind of all the synergies with it. And honestly, like, this leader is probably the best leader to abuse this secret rare. So barrier 30k, the fact that when attacking for 2, choose up to 1 rest mode battle card with cost of 5 or less and KO it every turn. So that's really good for a KO every turn. And it's just very, very strong, especially, like, if you're awakened on 4, you play this, you use your awakened side when attacking to switch 2 energy to active mode, and then you can use the 2 afterwards on the when attacking from Frieza to get rid of any card that you need, including, like, Jiren 4-drop, which is always, like, a menace for decks like this. So I think the other thing too is that you can just play this Frieza, you can just put it on the board as a 4-drop 30k, and your opponent just kind of has to respect that this card exists, which is really strong. And because of that, this deck is really, there's just, like, a lot of good Frieza cards that exist lately that kind of help it out. So new card, we got this Mecha Frieza, switch to rest, look top 3 for a Frieza clan, add to your hand, and then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in random order. So this is kind of just nice for, like, sometimes, like, we need to be able to use energy to be able to get our energy back, and sometimes, like, we don't need to use the activate main yet, so that's something for it, which is why we're playing 4 copies of Zarbon and 4 copies of Sorbet. We've got the 2-drop Frieza, which is really good for self-awakening, and the 3-drop Frieza, which is essentially the same thing, but, like, it costs 1 more and has a 10k, but being able to just rest any battle card on attack like this, I think, is really strong for this, and also be a self-awakener. We've got the Janemba, which this card is overstated, right? Can we all agree that this card was, like, they said, we need to give Janemba a really, really good card, so let's give it this 3-drop. Add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, switch 1 of your energy to active mode, choose up to 1 battle card in your opponent's battle area, switch to rest mode, 25k, so your opponent has a hard time. And like, what does this card not do, right? It has a 5k counter. Like this is probably one of the most overstated cards in yellow in this current day, with no negative effects besides not being searchable because it's the kind of another world archetype. But I guess it is searchable, which we could talk about later, but not easily searchable. But regardless, this card's really good. We also have this 2-drop Janemba. This is a promo which I believe comes out of the promo packs from starter or like pre-release events, so this should be pretty obtainable. But on play, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. Are when attacking for 1, choose up to 1 rest mode battle card with cost of 2 or less in your opponent's battle area and KO it. So the synergy is you play this on turn 2, and then on 3 you play out this Janemba, this rest something, and then you attack with this, and then afterwards you get to use the Janemba when attacking for 1 with the 1 extra energy that you have open. You get rid of a 2 cost, so it's pretty good, not too bad for what it is. Other than that, this card's a menace, especially since we are able to rest things easier by using this 2 energy effect from Janemba. We've got our Golden Frieza 5-drop, which is just okay, and then also the 6-drop Golden Frieza, which might be a little bit too much, but it's named Frieza. We're able to search it off of our Zarbon, and it just helps out a lot. So since we have so many Friezas in this deck, we just even for just like naming conventions, we want that there. So otherwise, I think Janemba is really cool. I think there's a lot of different ways to build this leader, so don't think this is the only way, but this is the one that kind of stood out to me as like, what's the best way again to take advantage of the new 4-drop secret rare Frieza, which I think is a bit of a menace in this one. So this is the build here. I hope you guys like it there. And then lastly, we've got the Gogeta, which I am the least excited about immediately. I think it's a little bit understated for what it is, and I just don't really feel like it has like a really kind of unique archetype or anything that other leaders can't kind of already do. So the biggest thing for me first is that it's when attacking, draw 1, but awaken, when your life is at 4 or less, you flip this card over. You don't get a draw on the awaken, which I feel, I don't know, like we'll see with testing. I think we could have been fine with getting this draw, and I don't know exactly why we lost it, because all we get is activate main once per turn for 1. If you don't have an energy marker, you get to place an energy marker, which self-admittedly, it's not exciting. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it's just like not exciting. You just turn any of your regular energy into an energy marker. But I just don't feel like the effects for energy markers are generally worth it quite yet to make it like worth it for just having a leader with this is its only identity, right? Like every other leader has like some cool effect or like gets to buff up their attack or whatever, right? We've got a 40k Vegito, we've got a 25k, or sorry, a 30k Goku, right? Like all this kind of additional stuff. And this just kind of makes an energy marker every turn, right? Which I don't know, like even just paying 1 for it, right? I think there could have been like a reasoning if we're not drawing a card on Awaken, right? Which is an expensive thing to not do. There has to be kind of a better way to do it, but I digress from there. From there though, like the biggest thing though is we got the Son Goku, which unfortunately is not named Son Goku GT, which is fine because that's what it is. It's not a Son Goku GT, but it would be really, really good if it was a Son Goku GT. But it has this on play. If you removed an energy marker to use this card, you get to draw 2, which is fine. And then activate main once per turn, you can discard 1 card from your hand, then switch this card in a battle area to active mode. So I think like this obviously is supposed to work with the Gogeta, right? But I think it kind of works better with the Son Goku GT leader, since you can use the effect to make this a 45k that attacks twice, and like you can use the energy marker, right? Like being able to have a card that attacks twice is really good. So I think that helps out for us. But I think the kind of idea from my build, which this could be super wrong, but the idea is that if we go first, we either play Kakarot, or on turn 2 we play Dr. Mew. We go from 2 energy to 2 with an energy marker. On 4 we play out Son Goku GT, and then from there we're able to attack, be a 4 draw or 3 energy with a marker, and then at 5 we play this card and we get our additional 5-drop body out, right? So it's not too bad. We have like a backup as well, since we've got the Son Goku GT promo. This is from a while ago, but this card gets plus 5k power for the turn. Then if you don't have an energy marker, you place an energy marker, which this is fine, right? It lets you just make an energy marker, go from 4 to 5 with a marker, and then be able to play this on the next turn, right? The other thing I kind of want to mention is that I don't know how I feel about this card. It's fine. It looks for like every card in your deck, right? If you have an energy marker, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 card with Saiyan in its traits, which again is legitimately 40 cards from this deck have Saiyan. So like everything that we could possibly want, right? Like energy markers, you have self awakeners, we've got our 4 drops on Goku GTs, we got our 5-drop, like every big card. Like, and also our super combo is a Saiyan as well, which is why we're playing the Bulla for this one. But with all that in there, like, right, like this card searches so much, but do we really have time to spend a marker? Like, you have to have an energy marker somewhere, and it's just rough. I feel like, because otherwise, like, you literally can't use this card if you don't have a marker, which isn't an issue with this leader per se, but I digress. We also have like Soul Punisher, which is a bigger version of 10 times Kamehameha. You just get to KO anything for 4, or if you removed a marker, 2 things for 4. So this might be something worth building around in this deck. Compared to other Bandai card games, removal isn't as strong in Fusion World, since everything has rush, so they can attack the turn they play. So everything at least gets a little bit of value the turn they're played. So Soul Punisher doesn't do as much because of that. But double removal in a deck that just like gives you the marker for free is very strong. And if you want to play more of a slower, grindier deck, Soul Punisher I could definitely see be instrumental for that kind of gameplay. But I don't know. I'm like a little bit lost, right? They didn't really give us like a blueprint for how to build this deck. Black's always been kind of just what's the best way to gain value. And I still think that Baby from FB04 is likely just better than this deck because it just gains more value and does kind of the same thing. And I don't think like this card is worth the need for an energy marker, especially when we like the draw 2 is nice, but when you think it's like the first time you play it, it's really like a draw 1 because you lost the draw from your leader awakening, which I really don't know if that was worth it at the end. So I guess we'll find out, right? We'll find out if this was good, and I'm hopefully I'm super wrong. I'm fine with being super wrong on my analysis on this, but this one just doesn't catch my eye compared to the other 4 leaders we have. So anyways, from there, last thing they'll say is like this, we got this 3-drop Vegeta from the set, which on play, if you have an energy marker, you can KO something 3 or less. And we also have this promo, which comes in the same pack as the Janemba. So you get to return a 4 less to your opponent's hand. So this one might be better. This might be better than playing out like the Sun Goten GT, which is a Saiyan that can get rid of 4 drops back to your opponent's hand. So I don't know. We'll see. Also, like, if we can still play like 4-drop Baby, because that is also a Saiyan, because it's a great ape. So I don't know. Like, this is just really flexible for what our building and deck list can look like. But I feel like it's just like a little bit open-ended and flexible without really a solid like game plan or a really big top end. Besides, like, oh, we get to swing 30k twice, right? Like, is that really worth this whole deck list? I don't know. I've yet to be convinced, but maybe my builds are bad and you can let me know. But that's going to be it for this video. Again, if you guys want to see all my builds, you can find that on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description. You can find the FB05 stuff right here in the FB05 section. These are all the lists that we're talking about today. This page will be updated continuously for the next couple months as well, so you can make sure to get updates on that. And again, I'm looking forward to the FB05 set. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.